What would you do if your parents sold your childhood home without telling you no warning, no goodbye, just a sticky note taped to the door? I had just wrapped up the toughest finals week of my life at Northwestern University. 3 sleepless nights, 1 broken laptop charger, and an ungodly number of energy drinks, but none of it mattered because I was finally heading home. My name's Danielle Price, I'm 22 and I study cybersecurity. I had dreams of making it big in Silicon Valley, but first, I just wanted to see my parents. I'd even picked out a gift for my mom during my layover in Chicago, a ceramic mug with "World's Best Mom" painted in bright yellow letters. I still remember cradling it like it was fragile hope. The bus ride from Chicago to Sacramento was long, hot, and miserable, but I didn't care. I kept picturing the moment I'd walk through our front door, breathe in the scent of my dad's weekend pancakes, and share the good news Professor Williams had nominated me for an internship at Nexora Labs, one of the best tech firms in the country. But when the cab finally pulled up to 1247 Oakwood Street, everything felt wrong. The lawn was dead. The flowers my mom used to fuss over were withered to dust. The curtains were gone. And the bold red "sold" sign stabbed into the dirt where our mailbox used to be. That was the first blow. I climbed the porch steps with a growing sense of dread. That's when I saw them cardboard boxes stacked like trash, labeled in my mom's handwriting, "Danielle's books," "Danielle's clothes," "Danielle's room." Garbage bags, stuffed with my old textbooks and jackets, lay beside them like an afterthought. Then I noticed a scrap of notebook paper taped to the front door, fluttering in the breeze like a cruel joke. I peeled it off with shaking hands. One sentence: "Handle it yourself." We had no choice. Mom. That was it. No explanation, no phone call. Just those 6 cold words and a driveway full of my life in pieces. I stood there stunned, watching strangers walk through what used to be my bedroom, now open for a house tour. It was surreal, like I'd been erased. My fingers fumbled for my phone. I called my mom, heart pounding so hard I could barely hear the dial tone. She answered on the 3rd ring. Not concerned, not surprised, just irritated, like I'd interrupted her yoga class. "What is it, Danielle? I'm busy." I choked back my anger. I'm standing in front of our house. There's a "sold" sign. All my stuff is in boxes on the driveway. What happened? Her sigh was long. Bored. "We had to sell quickly. Got a good offer. We're moving to Florida. Your cousin Patricia found us a place. Why didn't you tell me you're an adult now? We couldn't wait around for your schedule." Each sentence hit like a hammer. "You'll figure it out," she added like she was giving me a compliment. "We did you a favor." A favor. They sold my home, left my belongings outside, and called it a favor. I was speechless, frozen. The only sound was the crinkle of duct tape peeling off one of the boxes as the wind nudged it open. That's when I realized this wasn't a misunderstanding. This was intentional. But the real shock that was still to come. Have you ever felt so disposable? You start to wonder if you ever mattered at all. I sat on those cardboard boxes in the hot Sacramento sun, blinking away tears I refused to let fall. Strangers were walking by like I was part of the scenery, just some college kid dumped on the curb like trash. And in a way, I was. I tried calling my dad, straight to voicemail. His old recording chirped cheerfully, "Hi, you've reached James Price, leave a message." I almost laughed, as if he'd call back. A few neighbors peeked out from behind their curtains. Mrs. Henderson from next door even stepped outside to get a better look. The shame hit harder than the heat. But this wasn't a time for tears. This was survival. I called my roommate, Jessica. She was in Seattle with her boyfriend. I messaged a dozen classmates. No one was around. No one could help. That's when the isolation hit me harder than the betrayal. I'd been so laser-focused on grades, deadlines, internships. I never built a real safety net, and now I was free-falling. Then I remembered Maya Patel. She dropped out junior year to launch a web design business. We hadn't talked in months, but I called anyway. My voice cracked the moment she answered. Danielle. What's wrong? You sound awful. I told her everything through choked sobs and shaking breaths. She didn't interrupt, just listened. And when I finally ran out of words, she said one sentence that changed everything. Pack whatever you can carry. Come over, I've got a couch. We'll figure it out. That simple kindness. It broke something open in me. Because for the first time since my world collapsed, someone chose to stand beside me. I shoved what I could into my duffel, my laptop, 2 weeks of clothes, my textbooks, and one wooden jewelry box, my grandmother's gift. The rest yearbooks, photo albums, stuffed animals. I left them behind. I didn't have the strength or space for sentimentality. Maya pulled up in her dusty Honda an hour later. No judgment, just open arms and open doors. As we loaded the car, I stared at the house one last time, the desk where I'd studied the mirror, where I'd practiced interviews, the bookshelf Dad built when I was 12. All of it left behind like it never meant anything. But what they didn't know, what they never expected, was that they had just lit a fire in me. As we drove off, I blocked my parents' numbers, deleted their contacts, even blocked my Aunt Carol because I knew she'd try to play mediator. Maya glanced over as I hit delete. You sure about this? They made their choice, I said. Now I'm making mine. But deep down, I knew this wasn't over, not even close. Because people like them, they always come back when they need something. Some people break when they're abandoned. Me, I rebuilt myself from the ruins they left behind. Living with Maya was supposed to be temporary, just a week or two until I figured things out. But 1 week turned into 2, then into 3 months. I was sleeping on a sagging couch in a tiny apartment over a laundromat, but it was better than anything my parents gave me. I picked up a part-time job at a local coffee shop and juggled it with summer classes. Every morning I woke up sore, tired, and bitter, but I kept going, because I wasn't going to let the people who threw me away be the reason I failed. The worst part wasn't the back pain or the late nights. It was the question that wouldn't stop spinning in my head: why, what kind of parents sell the house and vanish without a single call? What were they running from? Maya noticed the obsession in my eyes. You're going to burn out, she said one night, catching me half asleep on my laptop at 2 a.m. You can't live on caffeine and anger forever. I lost everything I whispered. I'm not letting that happen again. That night, I couldn't sleep, and instead of counting sheep, I started counting lies. I dug through every online tool I knew, from my cybersecurity courses, reverse search, public records, obituaries, real estate transactions. But I found nothing on James and Patricia Price in Florida. No condo, no social media, no updated mailing address. It was like they'd vanished, but not in the way they claimed. Then, out of nowhere, came a clue. Brandon, a co-worker at the coffee shop, was scrolling through Facebook on his break. Hey, didn't you say your parents moved to Florida? Yeah, why? He turned his phone toward me. It was a group photo from a local Sacramento community board meeting, dated just 3 days before I came home. In the back row, standing clear as day, was my father. Same glasses, same half smile, same polo shirt he wore every Sunday. My chest tightened. My hands trembled. They told me they had already moved, that they were gone. But my dad was still in Sacramento just days before they left me on the street, which meant they didn't have no choice. They chose to abandon me. They planned it. I stood up so fast I nearly knocked over Brandon's coffee. I need to make a phone call, I muttered, already storming toward the back alley. My fingers hovered over the block list, then unblocked my mother's number. She picked up on the second ring. This time her voice was wary. Danielle, is everything okay? You lied to me. Silence. Dad was at a community meeting 3 days before you dumped me. You said you'd already left, that it was sudden, but you were still in Sacramento. You had time. A long pause. Then finally, her mask slipped. So what difference does it make? The coldness in her tone. It was like talking to a stranger. The difference is that you could have called. You could have prepared me. But you didn't. because you didn't want to deal with my reaction. "Oh, for crying out loud, Danielle," she snapped. "You're being ridiculous. We knew you'd figure it out. You always were resourceful." Resourceful. That's what they called it now. You think making me homeless was character development? We didn't make you homeless. We gave you an opportunity to what become numb. My voice broke. I was shaking. But I didn't stop. "You want thanks? You abandoned me with a sticky note. You taught me the people who should love you the most will leave when things get inconvenient. We raised you for 22 years. That's more than most kids get. You raised me just long enough to weaponize my independence against me." I took a breath, then said something I never thought I'd say. "We're done. No more calls. No more guilt. You wanted me out of your life. Congratulations. You got it. Now you're being childish. Click." I hung up, blocked her again, blocked my dad, blocked Aunt Carol, blocked everyone who might try to drag me back. And in that moment, something inside me shifted. The ache was still there, sure, but now it was mixed with clarity. They had shown me who they truly were, and this time I believed them. You ever feel like you've been sleepwalking your whole life, and then betrayal wakes you up? That phone call with my mother didn't just end a relationship, it ended the illusion. The idea that deep down they still cared. They didn't. And now, I didn't care either. That night, I sat down at Maya's tiny kitchen table, opened my laptop, and drew up a new blueprint for my life. I wasn't going to wait for life to hand me security. I was going to build it from scratch, one line of code, one course, one late shift at a time. I applied for every grant scholarship and freelance gig I could find. I picked up extra hours at the coffee shop. I started offering cybersecurity consultations to small businesses. Cheap work, but it added up. By the end of August, I had saved enough to get a studio apartment near campus. It was barely the size of a walk-in closet. The carpet was stained and the fridge rattled at night. But it was mine. No one could sell it. No one could abandon me inside it. No sticky notes taped to this door. Maya helped me move in carrying the same handful of belongings I'd salvaged months ago. She looked around the cramped space with concern. "You sure you don't want to wait for something better?" "This is better," I said, setting my laptop down on a $50 secondhand desk. "It's freedom." From that day forward, I buried myself in my work. My cybersecurity classes, I devoured them. I wasn't just meeting deadlines, I was setting records. My professors noticed. So did recruiters. Professor Williams pulled me aside after class one afternoon. "Danielle, your work on penetration testing is beyond undergrad level. You ever thought about accelerating your degree?" "How fast can I finish?" He studied me. "If you overload and take summer courses, you could graduate by December." That night, I built a master plan. 6 classes per semester. No breaks, no parties, no distractions, no excuses. Every day I'd wake up before sunrise, go to the coffee shop, grind through a shift, then sprint to campus, attend lectures, finish homework, collapse at midnight, wake up, repeat. Some called it hustle, others called it madness. I called it insurance. Because the next time the world tried to throw me away, I'd be unthrowable. But fate, of course, had other plans. It was a Thursday in November. Cold, gray finals week chaos. I was deep into a cryptography project when my phone buzzed. A notification I hadn't seen in months. Message request. Patricia Price. My stomach dropped. It was my mother. "Danielle, honey, I know you're angry, but we need to talk. Please call me. We're in trouble. You're the only one who can help." For a long time, I just stared at the message. Hands frozen, brain racing. Part of me wanted to delete it on sight. The other part wanted to know what could drive her to reach out after months of silence. I took a screenshot, sent it to Maya. Just a question mark. She replied instantly, "Oh, hell no, don't even open it." But I was already typing back, not to help them, not even out of curiosity, but because for the first time in my life, they needed me, and I was going to find out exactly Why? They always said I was smart. Now they were counting on that intelligence to save them. After tossing me like garbage, my parents wanted me to rescue them. But this time, I wasn't the daughter they abandoned. I was someone they couldn't control. I didn't reply to my mother's message. Not yet. Instead, I opened my laptop and did what I do best: dig. In 3 days, I uncovered more than I ever wanted to know. Turns out, James and Patricia Price hadn't just moved to Florida. They'd upgraded. Big time. Public records showed they bought an $800,000 luxury condo in a gated Tampa community pool golf course, the works. They traded my childhood home for marble countertops. Even worse, my cousin Patricia's social media told the rest of the story: new Mercedes, multiple cruises, fancy dinner parties, all posted proudly, carelessly. But then came the real kicker. 3 months ago, my father had been arrested, not for shoplifting, not for tax evasion, but for investment fraud. He'd been running a Ponzi scheme targeting elderly retirees in their new community, promising insane returns on crypto investments that didn't exist. The whole thing collapsed when people started asking for their money back. He was facing federal charges. And my mother, she was complicit. That message she sent me, it wasn't a cry for reconciliation. It was a lifeline. They didn't want forgiveness. They wanted a hacker, a cybersecurity expert, me. Whether it was hiding digital assets, covering their tracks, or rewriting some shady financial records, they thought I'd help, because we're family. The irony nearly knocked the wind out of me. I sat at my desk, reread the message one last time, then crafted my reply. I'm sorry to hear you're having difficulties. Unfortunately, I'm very busy with school and work right now. I'm sure you'll figure something out. After all, you always said I needed to be more independent. Maybe now it's your turn. Send, block, goodbye. But they didn't stop. Within hours, friend requests poured in. From my father, from Aunt Carol, from names I didn't recognize. Probably family friends recruited to guilt me. Blocked, blocked, blocked. Then came the emails, the unknown numbers, a certified letter forwarded from my old address, even a voicemail sent to my university inbox. I ignored them all. Maya watched this unfold with barely concealed fury. You're really not going to help them. Help them what hide stolen money, obstruct justice. I shrugged. They taught me that family doesn't owe each other anything. I'm just returning the lesson. But the final straw that came weeks later. I was walking across campus, finally free after my last exam, when a woman approached me near the library. Business suit, clipboard, badge, Danielle Price, I'm Agent Sandra Martinez. FBI, we need to talk about your parents. My heart stopped cold. I tried to keep my voice steady. I don't have parents. She raised an eyebrow. They've listed you as their emergency contact. They've told investigators you're helping manage offshore accounts. They say their daughter is a cybersecurity expert, that you've been assisting them remotely. The rage that surged through me nearly knocked me off my feet. They didn't just abandon me. They didn't just come crawling back. They tried to frame me. Even after cutting me out of their lives, they were still trying to destroy mine. I need to call my lawyer, I said. You have a lawyer, I will in 5 minutes. I pulled up the legal aid contact the university had given me and hit dial, because I wasn't going down for people who thought I was expendable. Not now. Not ever. The month that followed was the most terrifying and empowering of my life. I turned over every email, every call log, every time-stamped message I had. I worked with the university legal aid team, filed affidavits, and even allowed the FBI to mirror my laptop just to prove I'd never touched any of my parents' shady offshore activity. And the deeper they looked, the clearer it became. I was clean. But my parents, they were screwed. Every document I turned over, every detail I remembered, every dead-end email they'd sent was another nail in their coffin. I wasn't just clearing my name. I was building the case that buried them. When the indictments dropped, it was all over the news. James and Patricia Price sentenced to 15 years in federal prison for orchestrating a multi-million-dollar Ponzi scheme targeting elderly victims. They didn't even get bail, and I walked across the graduation stage 6 months early, diploma in one hand, a job offer from Nexora Labs in the other. I didn't cry, didn't stumble, didn't look back. Because the people who tried to break me, who sold my childhood home, dumped my life on the sidewalk and left me with 6 words on a sticky note, they taught me something priceless, that the world doesn't owe you anything, so you owe yourself everything, in a strange, twisted way. Their betrayal was the best thing that ever happened to me, because it forced me to become unshakable, to build a life so solid no one could take it from me again. Today I live in a high-rise overlooking San Francisco Bay. I lead a cybersecurity team. I help protect people from the same kind of deception that almost ruined me. And as for James and Patricia Price, they write me letters now. From prison. I don't read them. I don't return them. They're filed under no return address in a box I never open, because I already wrote the final message, the only one they'll ever get from me. Handle it yourself, just like they said. Have you ever been abandoned by the people who were supposed to protect you? Did you rise above, or are you still carrying the weight of that betrayal? Tell your story in the comments, and if Danielle's story hit you where it hurts, subscribe and hit that bell. There's more truth fire and real survival coming your way.